Episode 282. Today we're talking about some standouts in yesterday's matchup between Montreal and Carolina. And we saw the Carolina, they had a depleted lineup. So it was right from the get-go, it was kind of a situation where Montreal, they almost had to win. And I know they were on the brink of clinching a playoff spot heading into this game and stuff like that. But it just felt right that they had to win on home ice in order to clinch a playoff spot. I felt like it would feel a little bit weird and it would leave a bit of an ill taste if they clinched with getting like an OT loss or shootout loss or something like that. So I think them winning on home ice, clinching a playoff spot for the first time since 2021, and being able to do that was really cool and just really fun to watch. Montreal, they played a really good game, I think, overall, and they had some efforts from some untraditional guys that you wouldn't necessarily expect. Like obviously Suzuki, Caulfield, Hudson, Slavkovsky, those guys were noticeable. And I think Demidov was a little okay. Laine was okay. Laine was very inconsistent, very streaky to me in this game and also the past, I would say 10 games. He's been very probably ice cold is probably the best word for it, for lack of a better term. But Demidov was okay, and I thought just a lot of other guys were really noticeable. Like Caden Goulet is arguably the most effective defenseman and player in this game for Montreal. He had two of their four goals. He was very effective in transition and off the rush and carrying the play there, and just being able to be a play driver as a two-way defenseman. And there were a lot of aspects of his game which you really like to see and were really good to see. I think he can elevate his game to a slightly another level in the playoffs. I'd be curious to see which defensemen take their game to a new level for Montreal in the playoffs. Obviously, they're facing a tough team in Washington, but you also have to think about Washington's kind of they've had ill-affected chemistry lately. Like they they've dealt with some injuries and there's been lingering illnesses around them. I mean, obviously Alexi Protas has been hurt for a little bit. Logan Thompson has been hurt, and Jacob Chikrin was just off and on in terms of illness issues, and then him being scratched just for the sake of holding him out, and nothing really major. But I think with Washington, I'd be curious to see how they do. I wouldn't necessarily say they're the consensus favorite. I know they're obviously a really good team, but I wouldn't necessarily count Montreal out. And we saw the last time Montreal made the playoffs in 2021, they ended up going all the way to the Stanley Cup final, and they lost against Tampa Bay that year. But they still went all the way and, well, almost entirely all the way, and they're almost able to get a Stanley Cup out of it. I think in this game, and they just showed the desperation and they showed the willingness to compete all game long. And obviously they needed that to get in the playoffs, and it was really intriguing to see. But part of my brain thinks that, okay, if they're willing to sustain this effort throughout 60 minutes of play, how could they match that up against Washington? Because they might not be the most skilled and they might be a little outskilled in that sense. But if they have the work ethic, they can beat Washington, in my opinion. And I could totally see this being a situation where it doesn't necessarily go 7 games, but they could push and Montreal could at least get 2 wins, maybe even three, and they could push to seven potentially. But I'd be curious to see what happens and how everything transpires with this series. A lot of really good matchups in the first round too, so it'll be interesting to see. As for Carolina's side, obviously with them, they didn't have many guys playing, and Jacob Slavin was out of the lineup. Jalen Chatfield was out of the lineup. Aho, Jackson Blake, and off the top of my head, there's a couple other forwards that I'm missing right now, but and Seth Jarvis was another. Just a lot of their lineup, and they called some guys up. They had Skylar Brindamore make his NHL debut. Bradley Nadeau was playing, one of their best prospects in the system, and they had Dominic Fensori playing in this game as well. He looked really good. I was actually really impressed with his game as an undersized defenseman and the way he competes, the way he battles, the way he uses and leverages his two-way ability. I think Carolina has something there longer term in Fensori, and he could pan out. It's going to take a little bit more time for him, but he looks promising, and I'd be curious to see what he's able to accomplish long term. Taylor Hall was really intriguing in this game, and obviously he's very familiar with Montreal, playing against them when he was with New Jersey for a little while, and then playing in the East with various teams as well. And he just looked really effective and was really noticeable all around. And some other guys, like Bradley Nadeau, I really like when talking about his speed, how he's able to create off the rush, how he's able to create in transition, those type of scenarios, and was just very effective all around in that sense. And then Tyson Jost had a goal in this game as well, and he had the other goal. Taylor Hall had that first goal to tie it initially, and then Tyson Jost scored that other one. And I thought Jost was noticeable throughout this game as well.